Hi guys, it's Kelly Latavola here, and this is the next installment of What Would Kelly Make? This is the technique video, and today's technique is going to be watercolor embossed resist. So embossed resist is a technique that's been around for a really long time, and it is an oldie but a goodie. Just one that never kind of loses its magic for me. I am using the Kindness Flowers and the Kind Bold Outline die from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm working on Canson watercolor paper. So I have picked the, there's a bunch of different flowers and a bunch of different sentiments in this set, and all of them are awesome. But there's one that already has kind of this focal point built for you, and that's the one that I'm using. So I treated that with my embossing buddy to get rid of any of the static so my embossing powder isn't sticking where I don't want it to. And then I'm going to ink this up with a Versamark ink. Versamark is a clear sticky ink. So when I stamp this down, you're not really going to be able to see it, and I can't really see it in real life either, but it's going to create a sticky surface for my embossing powder to stick to. Because this is such a large stamp, I decided to do this twice, to stamp it twice, just to make sure that I got a really good crisp impression. So pushing that down really well. And then you can use any embossing powder that works for you, any color, anything. It will all resist. But I chose white. So I'm using white embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp just because that's my favorite version of resist, is having that white pop through. So I'm going to heat set that until it is all melted and smooth, and then we're going to move on to the resist part. So I'm using Distress Oxides. In the full card, I ended up using Distress Inks, but you can basically use anything that is water-based, because that embossing powder, once it is set, that, all melted and smooth and good, it will resist any water-based products that you put over top of it. So if you have, watercolor, like markers, water-based markers, Tombow, Memento, those will work. Distress Inks, Distress Oxides will work. Sprays, if you have there was, for a while, those were huge. If you have sprays, those will work. You can't use anything that's like alcohol-based. So if you try to color over this with your Copics, your alcohol will color the embossing powder. So just something to note there. I find that me personally, especially because I do use the white often, that I like some bolder or darker colors in the background so that it really shows off that white embossing powder. Sometimes you'll have, and you can see here in a couple of different areas, you'll have some water that kind of beads up on top. It isn't going to stay there, but it can dry on top just because of the puddling that you get. Also, you don't even have to necessarily use water. You could ink blend these. That'll work as well. But anyway, so back to this pooling thing. So I just like to go in. This is just a dry cloth, and I'm just going to go in and kind of suck up any of that's sitting on the surface. If you miss that step, I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. It's totally fine to heat set it. Even though you're going to be kind of reactivating that embossing powder, the color won't ruin it at all. The ink you put in the background. But then I'm going to take a damp, not a super wet, but a damp baby wipe, and just kind of buff that over the top. I don't want to reactivate my Distress Oxides, but I do just want to clean up that white, and that I find that works really well for me. The one that we just created with the oxides is the one on the left here, and then I did another one with just regular Distress Inks on the right, and you can see that the white pops through really nicely on either one of them. So just a super cool technique. This is the technique video. If you would like to see the full card video in order to see how I made this particular card, you can head over to that on the Simon Says Stamp channel as well, and I hope to see you guys over there. Bye.